Hello, I'm Regina McCann Hess, President of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, we're going to take a walk down the educational path and we're going to talk about choosing long term care insurance. And I know this is a boring topic, and a lot of people do not even want to discuss it. It is, an eventual thing that we have to deal with, but nobody wants to deal with it before they have to. But when you come into situations or your family members come into situations where an accident or a stroke or Alzheimer's disease or some form of dementia or just basic aging leaves you or them incapable of performing activities on their own, long term care, whether it's in a nursing home, your own home, or another residential setting, may become an essential part of your daily life. Now, here's a staggering statistic. Approximately 70% of individuals who reach 65 will need long term care at some time in their lives. Now, here's the other thing, most health insurance programs do not typically cover long term care expenses. The state funded Medicaid programs, for example, pay for some long term care, but only if you already have spent most of your savings and assets. And a great deal of those assets and savings have to be spent down before Medicaid would even step in. As baby boomers start to see their parents grow old and begin to understand the costs of taking care of them, and as they age, they are seeking ways to cover those costs for themselves. So, for many, purchasing long term care insurance is the most effective way to do this. Now, a long term care insurance policy helps you pay for long term care services either in whole or in part. So, with a policy, you would pay premiums. In the event of you needing long term care, your costs are covered as specified in your policy. So, a long term care policy may also give you choices about what long term care services you receive and where you receive them. So, protecting your assets, freeing your family from concern, and controlling where and how you receive long term care services are all good reasons to investigate this option. So, many people will ask one of the first questions is, what does long term care insurance cover? So, while most long term care policies vary greatly with respect to premiums and benefits, most policies will cover the cost of nursing home care, in home assistance with daily activities, adult daycare, or other community based programs. Also, assisted living services, including meals, health monitoring, and helping with daily activities provided in a setting outside the home. There's also coverage for daily nursing supervision for those with chronic illnesses. So then the next question people ask is, should I buy long term care insurance? So, whether long term care insurance fits into your financial planning picture is a question best answered with the help of your investment, your accounting, tax, legal professional. Those decisions, whether to buy, will depend mostly on your age, your health, your retirement goals, and your income. The next question people tend to ask is, how much coverage should I buy? So, long term care policies come with a variety of features, but there are three key decisions you do make regarding the daily benefit amount, the benefit period, and the waiting, or what we call the elimination period. And these three items will greatly affect the cost of your policy. So, a reasonable daily benefit, hold on to your hats, right? Long term care policies pay a per day benefit. Now, nationally, the median cost, so that's the average cost of a private nursing room in a nursing facility is $8,517 a month. That's a lot of money. And the cost will vary depending on the location and the level of care. Obviously, some areas like, metropolitan areas may be more expensive than maybe some of the rural areas, or it could be vice versa. It just depends. So the next thing you need to know is how much of a daily benefit do you want? Now, here it feels like you're getting a steal here, but semi-private rooms, which basically you're sharing a room with somebody, are only $7,513 a month. Holy crap, that's a lot of money every month, right? So the higher your daily amount, the more choices you may have with that on the policy. So here's another thing, lifetime benefit period. So when buying insurance, some recommend you estimate how long a potential stay in a nursing home may last and buy accordingly. Some investment and insurance professionals may recommend a policy with a lifetime benefit period. Such policies, though, are very expensive. However, they do eliminate the need that your coverage would run out. A cost-effective elimination period. Policies with short elimination periods, those that begin paying after your 30th day in a nursing home, for example, are also very expensive. So if your savings would cover a longer period, you may want to consider a longer elimination period, which will help reduce your cost. So here are a few other features to consider on those long-term care insurance policies. Uh, the biggest one that I come to think about is inflation rider. About half of all people who live in a nursing home are about 85 years or older. So if you buy a policy at age 65, you may not need that coverage for at least 20 years. So over that time, the average cost of a nursing home stay may rise considerably due to annual inflation rates. And the purpose of an inflation rider is to help ensure that your daily benefit amount keeps pace with the rising cost of long term care. And believe me, the cost of long term care tends to be more inflationary than your basic cost of living. So that is something to keep in mind. How about home health care option? In-home custodial care accounts for most long-term care expenses, right? People want to stay in their homes as long as possible. That's why many people choose to purchase a policy that covers home health care, often divided into custodial care, intermediate care, and skilled care. In-home care is not always covered by long-term care insurance, so you do want to be careful of that. Some people who require long-term care may need help with just daily activities before they require nursing home services. So, a few things that you must know about every long term care policy. What are the benefit triggers? Coverage often begins when a doctor certifies you that you need assistance in performing some of the activities of daily living. And that could be just like dressing or bathing. Okay. Now we also want to look at what are the benefit and payment stoppages. So often your first visit to a nursing home is not your last. Some policies will count your initial stay in a nursing home, even if you do not reach your elimination period toward that period. So for an example, you stay for 20 days, but your elimination period is 30 days. Other policies will restart your elimination period at days at zero when you are admitted a second time. So, under some policies, you will be allowed to stop paying premiums when you receive benefits and then resume paying when you are discharged. But note whether or not they would continue the elimination period or reset to zero for your next visit. That's another thing that's important to know. How about the non-forfeiture rider? Most long-term care policies have no value if they're canceled or if premiums aren't paid. A non-forfeiture rider will continue coverage with reduced benefits even if you discontinue paying premiums. So, another option here is limiting premium increases. So, insurers cannot increase the premium of a specific individual, right? But they can raise the premiums for a certain class of policy or increase a premium as you age. So, be sure that you understand under what circumstances your premiums can and cannot increase. And that's really important because people will get a shocker when that happens, when that bill comes in. Not a fun bill. Guaranteed renewability. A guaranteed renewable provision ensures the insurer cannot cancel or refuse to renew your policy as long as you have been paying your premiums. Deducting premiums. You can deduct payments that you've made for qualified long term care insurance contracts up to a limited based on the age of the person insured. So, to qualify, a long term care insurance contract must provide coverage only for qualified long term care services, such as services that are both necessary and they must meet certain other requirements. The person receiving the care must also have a long term care treatment plan prescribed by a licensed healthcare provider. And the insurance contract must be guaranteed renewable and provide that refunds, except refunds due to death or complete cancellation of the policy, or dividends, are used only to reduce premiums or increase benefits. They're also not to provide for a cash surrender value or money that can be borrowed, and they cannot pay items already reimbursed under Medicare. So, when do you buy a long term care policy? So, the cost of nursing home care and home care increases the longer you wait, and waiting just carries an additional risk. If you wait until you reach your 70s or 80s, failing health or policy restrictions or costs could make it more difficult to purchase a long term care policy. But buyer beware, because a long term care insurance policy is a long term plan. You will want to shop for a policy as you would for any long term product. So, you want to check with several companies before making a decision. If you cannot understand what a policy does and does not cover, very important to understand that, it may not be the right policy for you. If you feel pressured to buy, it might be better to wait. Also, review the policies carefully to avoid buying more than one policy that does the same thing. You wouldn't insure your car twice, so why would you do this type of insurance a second time? Another step. Please be sure to check your state commissioners of insurance or the Better Business Bureau before you buy a policy. They maintain a list of those firms about which they've received complaints. So, obviously, if a company's name is on there, you really want to think twice about that. Whether to buy a long-term care insurance policy is a decision with long-term consequences. Make sure you read over any literature you receive from a prospective insurer carefully. And as with all financial decisions, you may want to consult with your investment, tax, or legal professional before you decide to buy a specific policy. So, a few key points today. Remember, most health insurance programs do not cover long term care costs. Most of the costs of caring for the elderly occur before they enter a nursing home. And also, buying long term care insurance may help cover the long term care costs. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Women in Wealth. And you can watch the founders video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at forgewealth.com. Again, thank you for joining us on our Women in Wealth series. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Forge Wealth. And on LinkedIn, I'm Regina McCann Hess. Have a great day.